Smart Studios.
Hello, my name is Kevin Surratt Sr. Everything you're about to hear is my perspective and my opinion on my life and journey. This is Sessions with Surratt.
Only on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.
This is a guest that was truly a blessing to my family on our journey. Truly family in the rough. And that would be my mother, Miss Blondine Surratt. And I just want to introduce her to the world. Are you there?
Yes. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, how you doing, Ma?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. I wanted to bring you in just to give a little insight. You was around doing some very critical points of our life. I think you met Tracy in '93 when I started dating her.
Yeah. Yes.
And when you end up staying with us after Mom and Pop passed. But let's talk about the journey that we had a little bit.
Okay. Hi, my name is Blondine Surratt. I'm the mother of Kevin Jr. and Traci Braxton Surratt was my daughter-in-law. And during this period, um, after meeting Tracy for a while, Kevin was born. So I am also the grandmother of Kevin Jr. I wanted to tell my truth surrounding my journey with my family, living in the household with Kevin Sr. and Tracy, my daughter-in-law, Traci Braxton Surratt. I was played I played a big part as being a support and enjoying my family relationships with the family. That's not right. I just want to talk about my part that I played in being a support system for Kevin and Tracy. Most of the time, Kevin and Tracy were working. Tracy was out of town a lot, and it was little Kevin and I, so I had to be there to support him, making sure that he got to and from school, taking him to his doctor's appointments, making sure, we went to the grocery stores and make sure food and things was in it. Those are the things that we did together. And I enjoyed that time with little Kevin. We went to the library. He loved books. He liked to read. And so, we would be on our own little journeys each day after getting him out of school. Um, when I first met Tracy, um, it was in 1993. And when I first met her, instantly she seemed as though had been in the family forever, because that's just how warm she was, just walking through the door. It was like I didn't meet her for the first time. Um, and instantly she just started calling me mom. So I accepted that because I accepted her as a daughter. And even after, when they got engaged, Kevin came home and told me, Mom, I went and asked for I went and asked Mr. and Mrs. Braxton for Kevin's hand, I'm sorry, for Tracy's hand in marriage. And I was okay with that. I was thrilled about that because I felt like, he was happy with her. And I saw how instantly, as I saw them coming in and out of the home, I saw how happy he was with her, and I saw how happy she was with him. So after a while, Kevin came home one day and told me that Tracy was she was sleeping from house to house. And I said, why is that? and he said that Tracy decided that she wanted to be with me. So um, she had to move out of the house. So I said, We can't have her doing that. We can't have her going from pillar to post." So I said, "Kevin, I know I'm going to have a hard time with this, but I think she needs to come and stay with us." I said, "Because I can't see her going from house to house." So she moved in, and we had been together all that time. Now, um, let me see, Tracy was with us. We stayed together for about a year. And during that time, she got pregnant. And after a while, little Kevin was born. Um, during which time they bought their own home. And, things were going good for them. But after a while, Tracy had the opportunity to go down to Georgia. And Big Kevin was supposed to be moving down a little while after. So after a while, when Kevin did go down there, it was a hard time for him to get a job. So he ended up coming back up to the DMV area, and of course, he had 2 or 3 jobs. So after a while, I think Tracy was down there for a year, maybe 2 years, and she ended up having to come back home. Um, after that, she stayed with us in Virginia at my mother's house because after that my mother had passed, and she stayed with us there for a few months, and then they decided that they were going to move to Maryland, back to Maryland, and after a while, after I sold my mother's house, I moved with them, and we stayed together for 13 years. So you know, I feel like Tracy was brokenhearted from, I think, from the first day that I met her. I could see the pain in her eyes, but she was always, we call it in my profession, we call it masking your pain. So she was always doing that, and I could see through that, but I never questioned anything. But after a while, we started having real long talks, and started telling me about her life and the pain that she was feeling. And a lot of it was the fact that there was no connection between her and her sisters, and she was really brokenhearted about that. But I would always tell her, God has His own way of always showing us the difference in our life. We all have a purpose, and that's what I always try to tell her. Um, Tracy um, is a strong person. She was a very strong person, and I could see that in her. She liked making people happy. I could see how she was with my with her stepchildren. She enjoyed doing things with them. She taught one how to drive. The other one she taught how to cook, and the other one she just spoiled to death. So you know, she always counted them as her children. And little Kevin always enjoyed being with his sisters. He always enjoyed in his brothers, so he enjoyed that. And that's all she ever wanted was a family. She wanted that connection. She wanted that love. She wanted that bond. And so during their journey, they took on others. There was Kevin's sisters. She loved on them. There was her friendships that she had. She loved on them. She was always trying to make people happy. And I always told Kevin, I said, what I admire about Tracy is her heart. I say, I don't care what, I see her heart. Because she was a good hearted person. Tracy uh, was really kind of sad a lot because she knew her family wasn't going to accept Kevin Sr. And I could see that that hurt her a lot because she wanted them to accept him. But Kevin had a lot of pain in his heart too. And I saw it every day that he walked through that door coming from work. And a lot of it was the fact that his in-laws were never accepting him. And you know why they didn't accept him? Because he didn't have enough money. He wasn't good enough. He was less than. Do you know what less than feels like? Let me tell you what less than feels like. Less than feels like I was born in Jim Crow era. I came up in segregation. We couldn't walk on the same sidewalk with white folks. White folks made it sure that we walked in the street. I don't care if cars were coming, trucks was coming, whatever. We had to walk in the street. That's what wet feeling less than feel like. I I could still feel that hurt. Let me tell you another thing about the feeling less than. I remember when we were being transferred, my father was in the service. I come from a military family. So my father was in the service. We moved around the United States a lot. And this particular year, it was in 19, let me say 50, 54, 55. And we had to move to Colorado, Fort Carson, Colorado. We moved from, we had to go down to South Carolina on a train, and we had to transfer in South Carolina. Well, we were trying to get to another part of the city, and my mother, by mistake, she was running to catch a cab, and she made the mistake of putting her hands to open the door to a white cab. You never do that. And the man drew back his hand to slap my mother. And if it hadn't been from the black red cap begging the man not to hit my mother had an infant baby in her arms. And I know how that make me feel. I know how my sisters and brothers felt. I looked in all of their faces. I looked at my mother's face. That's not a good feeling. So every day that my son walked through the door, I saw that face. I saw that same face in him, and I saw the pain. Do you know what that feels like for a mother to see her child with that pain in their face every day? Not a good feeling. Because I know, because I lived it. And I never wanted that for my children. So I know what feeling less than feel like. When somebody tell you that you're not accepted, when somebody tell you that you're not good enough, that's not a good feeling. And we, as black folk, we keep doing that to each other. We keep tearing each other down. For what reason? For what reason? Let me tell you about Traci. Traci, they had taken me to the doctor. And coming back, it was hot, very hot this summer day. And Traci, we stopped at a stoplight. And I said, oh my goodness, they are sitting out there. They were homeless people, homeless family. I said, oh my goodness, they're standing out there in that heat with all those children. And Traci said, wait, Surratt. She looked in her purse, she pulled out some money, and she called them over to the car, gave them money, and told them to go get something to eat and get some water. How many people do that? How many people feel that do that? And she saw the pain in those parents' face. That's who she was. She always was trying to help people. They want to know what about the money. Her and Kevin was always helping everybody else. They were always paying somebody's rent. They didn't think I knew it. Paying somebody's mortgage. They didn't think I knew it. Paying somebody's car note, insurance, whatever. going to get people out of jail. They didn't think I know it, but I did. I sit there, I watched, I heard, I seen all of those because I'm a mother. And Kevin knows that in our household, we had many people living in our household. If I could help somebody, I was going to do it. And that's who he was. That's who he is. That's who he is. And that's who Traci is. Well, Traci was. That's what she did for people. That's what he did for people. They always had somebody to stay with them. Always. They didn't shut their door on anybody. That's who her heart was. That's who his heart is. So I just want people to understand, Traci, the when she said the real Traci Braxton, I saw the real Traci Braxton. In all ways, I saw the real Traci Braxton. Traci told this person that person that, this person that. She told everybody something different. Always. Always. But a lot of them didn't see her pain. Most of them didn't see her pain. But her husband did. And I just want everyone to understand when you're raising children, it's important that we get them to understand about morals and principles and the things that we instill in our children. And I can point fingers at myself. So people want to be pointing fingers all around. We got to learn to point fingers at ourselves, and we don't do enough of that because we got some hurting kids out here in these streets. People not talking about that. They're not talking about that because they don't want to know. Because they don't want to point fingers at themselves. That's the big picture. And in my line of work, I've had so many people come to my office hurting. And I retired years ago. And I can still, a lot of times I see those same people. Some of them have moved on, gotten better, but sometimes I see them at the same point. They're still reaching out, but they're hurting. They're in pain. But Traci always tried to push her pain somewhere else. That's why she was always trying to help everybody. And she also instilled those things in little Kevin. She wanted a lot for him. And she always was pushing him. Big Kevin, they went to all the PTA meetings, they went together. They went to all everything that was happening at the schools for him, the band that he was in, and everything. They went to all of that. Everything time he graduated from something, they went to all that. And little Kevin had any and everything that he ever wanted. And the kids was jealous of him. And people want to know why we were so protective of little Kevin. It's because we had two bad episodes that happened with him. And I'll never forget. And I pain in Tracy's face. So, you know, um, we had to be protective of him. Anytime people recognize you and say, that's Tony Braxton, I know him, that's Tony Braxton's son. That's Traci Braxton's son. And sometimes they thought Kevin was Tony Braxton's son. They would say that. Sometimes they would say he's a relative of Tony Braxton. But they would recognize him. So yes, we were protective of him. We're still protective of him. So I don't want people to think that the Surratt side of the family is not involved with him because I love little Kevin. We love little Kevin. And we try to, as much as we can, to instill as much as we can in him. Because I know he's hurting. He's really hurting. Can you imagine? You lose your mother, you lose your son, lose your wife, and all the other things that's coming, and he's sick, stressed, and he loves his father. Believe me, he loves his father, and his father loves him. I know. I was with them for 13 and a half years. You know what? My father was in the military, and he stayed away. He was in three wars. He was in World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. So he was away from us a lot. When he came home in 1965, when Kevin was 2 weeks old.
And it was a real hard time. Just us being so happy to see our father. And then, him becoming getting to meet all his grandchildren, and, to see the joy in my mother's face. And when I saw Kevin and Tracy together, it just brought me a lot of memories about, seeing my mother and father embracing each other. And even when Tracy called and told me how sick she was, I didn't want her to know that I was crying. But when she was talking to me, the tears were just rolling, because when she said that she was in, her last stage of her cancer, all I could do was just tell her, Tracy, let's pray. And, she would call, tell me what drew us closer together is that we loved old movies. And she would call me and say, Mom, I'm looking at so and so and so. Turn on this channel, turn on that channel. And that just brought a lot of joy to me, because I always introduced Tracy as my daughter. I never said daughter-in-law. I never said daughter-in-law, because she came into my life, and she embraced my daughter. They were like sisters, and I love that. You know, if I spank Neek, she would tell Neek, come and go and get in the room with me. And they would be in there playing and talking. Tracy always had children around her. She loved the children around her. So with the stepchildren and and um and my daughter, they would get in that room and she'd be sitting on the floor playing with them. Always. And so I love that also about her. She was just a loving, embracing person. And that was the happiness, the joy that brought a lot of happiness to me, just to see how she interacted with other people. Even in our apartment building, everybody loved Tracy. They just wanted to meet her and talk to her, and it was like she was just meeting a friend. She never tried to be any more than what she was. And we didn't look at her that way. She was Tracy, and that's how we embraced her. The whole family, my mother and my father, loved Tracy. So even when my mother was sick, Kevin and Tracy would come over and help me with her. You know, there were times when my mother's caregiver couldn't come in, Tracy would come and be with my mother and take care of her. Kevin would do the same thing. So they gave me a lot of support when I was there taking care of my mother. Um, and I was so happy. They looked at her as their granddaughter. My mother and father did. That's what they said. She was their granddaughter, and that's how we looked at her. Um, my relationship with Tracy, was very strong. Even though I'm not gonna say we didn't bump heads, because my mother always said two women can't live in the same house together. But we bumped heads, but we loved each other. You know. Uh, that was my belief. We would go shopping together. That's when I really realized Tracy was sick, was really sick. We were going to the grocery store together, and she started coughing, and she couldn't stop coughing. So we pulled over, and she just she couldn't stop throwing up. She kept on vomiting, and I said, Tracy, I think it's something else going on with you. I think you need a second opinion, because they were treating her for something else. And I said, I think you need to go and get a second opinion. But she had been with these doctors so long, and I understand it, because I don't like going to other doctors either. I like my doctors and I want to stay with them. So she didn't want to go to anybody else. And so people failed to realize that Tracy had a lot of things going on with her, and she didn't want anybody to know. But I used to watch her a lot. I used to listen to her a lot. Even if she wasn't talking to me, I would listen to little things that she would say. And um, she wanted to be private about what was going on with her, you know. And but most of all, I think that she stayed stressed so much about her family. She loved her family, and she just wanted them to embrace her and be there for her. Her father, yes, he was there. He would call her every day. They would pray together. They would read scriptures together. He would tell her things to read in the Bible and stuff. And I could see her always perk up. She was a daddy's girl. And they would have daddy and daughter day. They He would come and take her out to lunch, and she would be so happy. And I think it was happiness for him too, for her to embrace her. She never, I don't care what was going on between Mr. Braxton and Miss Evelyn Braxton, they she never took sides. She said that wasn't her business. That was between her mother and her father. And she stood on that. So, he really, really, really tried to do as much as he could for her and for her to enjoy the rest of her life. He was there. He was there. And he was always, trying to do things to uplift Big Kevin, a little Kevin. So he was there, you know. Uh and I would be happy when she would say, her mom was coming. Uh and I think in those 13 years, I think the sisters might have come. I might have seen them like 5 times. Um, but it would make her happy whenever she could see them, and that's all she wanted. You know, I've heard of people, passing with broken hearts, but I took care of my mother um, for years, at least maybe 12 years. I took care of my mother, and every time she had to go to the hospital, she never, they admired the way she was being taken care of. She never had a bed sore. She never had a bed sore. And when I found out that Tracy had bed sores, that broke my heart. That really broke my heart. I did not want that for her. And I believe the reason why they took her out for her to have home care, hospice care, is because they didn't feel like she was being taken care of properly. So I just want everybody to know that that broke my heart, to know that she had bed sores, because I was really adamant. I don't care what. My mother was always kept clean. I don't care what was going on with her. If I was up all night long, I was up all night long, because I was not going to have her laying in nothing that was going to deteriorate her skin. And it broke my heart to know that she had bed sores. She shouldn't have had bed sores. And that's all I have to say about that. But I just don't like what I heard. I really don't like what I heard about her having no bed sores. As sick as she was, I know. I know. But that broke my heart to know that she had that on her. That tells me a lot. It told me a lot. So I know how Kevin tried his best to be there for his wife, working and trying to be there for his wife, and going to those hospital appointments, doctor's appointments, and being there, sleeping in the hospital with her. And this is the thing about Mr. Kevin Surratt Sr. At one time, I was in one part of Georgetown Hospital. Tracy was in the other. Tracy was having a procedure, and I was having surgery. And he was running from one side of that hospital to the other to talk to the doctors about each one of us. I don't know too many men that would do that. I really don't. But I know he did it. And just this year alone, he saved me 3 times. 3 times he saved me this year. In the month of August, just before my birthday, I almost died in here. And he had been calling me. And I couldn't get to my phone. I couldn't get to my phone. When he found me, I was on the floor. And I was able to snatch the phone down. And he couldn't understand me because I couldn't verbalize. I thought I was having a stroke. And when he found me, he had called the emergency to a squad to come and pick me up, come to my apartment. But he saved me. And that was 3 times. That was the third time this year that he saved me. So, I want people to understand, when we tear down each other, when we tear down our black men, what does that make us look like as women, as black women? What does that make us look like? Because no other nationality, society do it except black women. Get out here and tear down our black men. And that's not a good thing. It's really not a good thing for us to do that to each other. It's enough that our black men are going through day by day by day. For about 15 years, I worked with an organization, nothing but men, and I saw how troubled they were, and I saw the pain that they were in. So I know what it looks like. I know what it looks like for our young people out here in these streets. And then we want to know what's wrong with them. We have to point some fingers at ourselves. We have to point fingers at ourselves because we're so busy teaching them how to tear down each other. And that's what they're doing out here in the streets. They're tearing down each other. Kevin and Tracy, in their marriage, they had their ups and downs. They really did. They had their ups and downs. But they were determined that they were going to work through things. Like I used to tell both of them, the pot can't call the kettle black. The communication has to be better. There's a lot of work to be done, but they tried to do the work. They tried to do the work. So, it's a lot to this story. It's a whole lot to this story. And Kevin, he might have went through his ups and downs also. He had his troubles. But I tell you one thing, he got over that mountain. He got over that mountain. He was determined he was going to do better, get better, and be strong for his family. What man? At one time, he was working 5 jobs. He got sick. See, Tracy is gone. So she used to tell me a lot that he wouldn't tell me. So she would tell me certain things, and the doctor made him quit one of those jobs because he was working himself to death. But he that's all he ever knew. He saw his grandmother go back and forth to work. He saw his mother go back to work. He saw his grandfather going to work. We all worked. We all went to work. And he's been working since he was 13 years old. He's always had a job. Always had a job. And that's just him. It's just in him. It's just in him. And he's always trying to help other people. Always. And he has his sisters. He loves his sisters. He really loves his sisters. And he loves his brother. He has a brother. And he loves his brother. And I love it. I love that they all have, different relationships. But the bottom line is that they love each other. And Tracy loved them. And they loved Tracy. They always had a strong village. Always. And the village is still here. They call, they check on Kevin. They want to know what's going on with little Kevin. They still have a strong village. I was reared in a village. And Kevin was reared in a village. His grandmother, both his grandmothers, his godmothers, his godfathers, they were always in his life. Always in his life. I don't care what. They were there. They were there. And when his godmother passed, that was a serious trauma for Kevin. Because he loved her. And she loved him. And she also loved Kevin. Loved Tracy, I'm sorry. Loved Tracy. Because we all embraced Tracy. Always. Always. So, we will always be her family. We will always look at her. That's my daughter. That's my daughter. So it's as a mother, it hurts to hear people tear your child down. And like I say, perfect, none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. And if we spend more time cleaning up our own stuff in our own house, we wouldn't have time to clean up nobody else's. I don't have time to clean up what's going on in my sister's house, my brother's house, none of their houses. I don't have time for that because I got enough to deal with in my own house. But if they ever call on me, I'll be there. But I don't dip into nothing that's going on in their house unless they call me. That's the bottom line. Like my mother always said, we can't throw bricks at a glass house. Because we have a glass house too. So the bottom line to this is that I would love for us to be able to embrace one another, love one another, and just give a helping hand. Because what's going on in this world, what's going on in this country, we got a rude awakening coming. And we need to look at that. We need to be cautious of that. And I just want people to understand that Kevin is a strong person. I basically, with my village, because I'm not going to tell anybody I raised him by myself, because I had a whole lot of help. I don't care who I called, they were right there. I don't care what he was into, they were right there. So, right now it's a trying time for him and little Kevin. And that's what I want people to understand. It's a trying time. When a child, I love my child. I love my child. I love my grandchild. I love all my grandchildren. And I just want people to understand. Disrespect, I won't tolerate. I've been here I lived on this earth too long for anybody to think that they're going to disrespect me, and especially a child. That's not going to happen. This child, and that child, and that child, all of them, I won't tolerate disrespect. Enough trying to, raise your children. God says we are supposed to provide for our children. That means a roof over their head, food in their stomach, clothes on their back, and the love that we can give. The love that we can give, because that's what he gives us. And he forgives us every day. Every day he forgives us. But we don't know how to forgive each other. And that's the sad part about it. We ask God every day to forgive us, and yet and still we can't forgive each other. And that's so sad to me. That's really so sad to me. But that's just me. That's my opinion. And that's how I express it. And if I can't help somebody, I'm sure not going to put my foot on their neck. We have to deal with enough of that already. People putting their foot on our neck. I want us to understand that when we point fingers, 10 fingers might be pointing at, you might be pointing 10 fingers at them, but you got there maybe 20 or 30 pointing at you. And we have to analyze that. It's important that we see that and understand what we're teaching our children. We got other generations out here and they're killing each other. For nothing.
I tell you, man, that's a powerful story. I appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you.
Sharing what you saw with your eyes and your heart. And definitely am privileged to know the level of love that you have. I want to tell everybody, my caring and my loving and my caregiving comes from her. So I continue that process to take care of others, to make sure others are strong and productive for our current time that we live in. And I pray that God continue to give the guidance and the strength to all of those. And I pray that these sessions with SirRatt will give y'all the empowerment that you need, because that's what it's all about. That's why I'm sharing on these levels, to let you know there's people out making sure that they empower others so that our future can be strong and productive and everything that it's supposed to be. Again, this is my opinion. This is from my perspective. And I pray that everybody have a blessed and wonderful night.
This is Sessions with SirRatt.
Only on urbansmartnetwork.com.
Like that.